I love this game. I have fond memories of rushing home from Blockbuster with this game in my hands and spending hours in front of my TV playing this game. So you can imagine my hype when I heard that this game was getting a remake, which only makes it harder for me to admit that this game is just a big corporate nostalgia bait. And let me tell you why. Right, so let's start off with what a remake is supposed to be. A remake of a game means completely building a game from the ground up. This usually involves changing and improving the gameplay mechanics, the narrative direction, and the visuals. In other words, a remake should improve on its predecessor by overhauling the existing game. Take the Resident Evil remakes, for example, notably the 2nd and 4th remake. These games are applauded for being top-tier remakes. Why? Because they really do build everything from scratch, overhauling the bad and taking away the tedium that brought the originals down, while expanding on what works and adding new content in the gameplay and in the story. So, how does Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life compare? What innovative gameplay content are we getting with this new remake? The most obvious upgrade from the original game is the visual style, and I admit that the brighter, vibrant character models do look better and more attractive, and there are a few quality of life changes, aka the easier tool and item management and storage systems. There's a better in-game menu, and that's it. About as far as the improvements go, every improvement that is made in this game is bare bones and is just minor quality of life adjustment. But there's nothing that pushes the boundaries of this game. But not just that, they actually still kept in outdated mechanics in this remake. For example, accessing Vesta's shop is exactly the same as in the GameCube version. To buy shit, you gotta talk to either Vesta, Celia, or Marlon, and after listening to their dialogue, you're given the option to access the shop, to which the menu opens up and you can select the item you want to buy. Great, right? Except you have to do this every single time after every single transaction, meaning if you want to buy several things, you have to constantly confirm that you are still shopping and watch as your character is given each item he wants to buy, one item at a time. Why did they keep this in the remake? Why didn't they just make it a menu so you can buy and sell everything you need all at once? In this modern age of gaming, there is really no excuse for being so lazy as to keep something so archaic in your remake. One of the biggest draws about the original GameCube version was the ability to live out your entire character's life, to watch your child grow from toddler to adulthood. Even today, there are very few cozy games, if any, that allows you to do this. At most, you will be able to have a child, but then that child will basically just stay a toddler forever. The progression of life is a core theme in this game. So, with the announcement of this remake, I had the expectation that they would expand on the life aspects of this game. There is no expansion. Just like in the original game, nobody else's life progresses. There are no rival marriages or children. I mean, for God's sake, even the fucking DS version had rival events and marriages. Older characters still outlive you for no fucking reason. The Valley literally does not change at all, well, except for Grant's family, of course, but no one, who cares about him? And I don't want to hear about how much hard work it would take to include new characters or new dialogue when the dialogue still stays the same after many seasons. At the end of year 1, my now fiance is still apologizing to me for seeming standoffish, aka he is still telling me the same fucking thing from when we first met in spring. Not only that, but the dialogue is still fucking stale. Do you know who likes talking and hearing about the weather? Fucking no one. Not in real life, and definitely not in a game. Dialogue between all the characters are usually about the setting, about how hot or cold it is, and how, oh, you're welcome in their home, or some other polite bullshit. Some characters do have some spice, notably Rock's events and dialogue have more life and quirkiness to them, and they're actually kind of hilarious, but I just want more. Dialogue is arguably the easiest thing to implement in a game like this, so there really isn't any excuse. Rune Factory is a great series that does dialogue pretty great most of the time, with 3 and 4 being particularly vibrant. You can argue that the characters were pretty one-note, but you can't deny that they at least felt alive through their variable dialogue and opinions about each other. More dialogue with the characters gossiping about each other, please. Stop talking about the summer heat and the valley and just talk about each other. Problems with your relationships with each other, or just praising each other, or juicy gossip about how someone spotted Rock skinny dipping in the lake or something, or I don't know, anything. How about more moments of vulnerability? Like, for example, maybe Griffin feels lonely, and we get to have an intimate moment where he shares his concerns with us. He is a middle-aged single man in the middle but fuck nowhere after all. Actually, building off of that, what if finding Griffin a girlfriend was an actual quest in the game? Instead of finding a fucking fish to give him in exchange for a potato, what if the requests were actually story driven? Instead, we get this stupid request board where you can exchange milk in return for some plant that can be found next to your house. I mean, honestly, where is the depth in this game? The gameplay loop remains pretty much exactly the same, with very little to no improvements or changes throughout the years. Here's your typical gameplay loop. You water the crops, you tend to the animals, you pick up random shit from off the floor, you give that random shit and talk to the villagers who say the same exact fucking thing every day. You fish or dig until it's time to return to the farm and milk the cows again, and that's it. In other games, this might not be a problem, but the problem is there is no feeling of progression. In this game, progression is tied literally to the passage of time. So you actually want to sleep early just to move the story along, because otherwise, what else is there? There's no fishing skill. You'll be catching the same fucking Wagasaki for forever. Digging doesn't actually do anything but give you gifts that you can give to the villagers who have nothing interesting to say anyway. So basically, your spare non-farming time is spent either fishing or digging, and not to mention the fact that your animals can't die or get sick, so there's like no sense of stakes or danger either for being a piss poor farmer. So if there's no stakes, no interesting dialogue, no progression in the pastime activities, what am I playing for? Why am I playing? The strongest aspect of the game is still the progression of your family. It's just a shame that this progression of time and family is only seen through your family and is not reflected by the rest of the valley. The game is called A Wonderful Life, and yet the inhabitants of Forget-Me-Not Valley still remain as lifeless as their GameCube counterparts. It was more acceptable then because of the limits of technology or whatever, but that's definitely not an excuse now. There is so much they could have done by leading into the life theme of the game. Like, can you imagine rival marriages, rival children, your child growing up with the rival's children and having crushes that maybe you could have influenced, having to plan around livestock deaths due to old age, Flora being romanceable, traveling out of the valley into Mineral Town? Keep in mind that this game is priced as a AAA experience. I mean, fucking Stardew Valley is half the price, and on the PC you have mods available which just expands the lifetime value of the game by forever. You can spend literally like hundreds of hours on that game. This game does not deserve this price. It is not a remake, but a reskin of the original game. It is lazy, it is uninspired, and it is just a clear money grab banking on the nostalgia of players who grew up with this game, such as myself. I feel like no one is talking about how lazy this game is. I love this series, and I loved these characters growing up, which is why I hate to see that this game did not receive the upgrade it deserved. And if we don't speak up, the developers will believe that what they did was acceptable. And I don't think it is. Complacency is the enemy of innovation and improvement, and I, for one, am not satisfied with the state of this game.